one has sold the expensive pieces first and keeping the cheaper inventory on the books, and the other one has sold the cheaper units first and keeping the expensive inventory on the books. So now they both have the same selling price. If they stop buying new units, obviously the one with the LIFO is going to be declaring higher profits, right? So 3 minus 1, or let's say if they sell 2 units, it's going to be 3 into 2 is 6. So they'll get a revenue of 6, but their cost is only 2, whereas they will get a revenue of 6, but their cost is 4. So they will both declare different profits. The party with the LIFO is going to declare a higher profit because they've got that reserve which they can liquidate. So this is the concept of LIFO reserve, right? And how is it calculated? It's very simple, that the value of the FIFO inventory value minus the value of the LIFO inventory value, that difference is called the LIFO reserve. And how can you get into LIFO liquidation? So all you have to do is basically you have to, right, you stop buying new inventory. So the number of units being sold, right, if that is less than the number of units being manufactured, you will go into LIFO liquidation. But if you manufacture more and sell less, then you can increase your LIFO reserve, right? So LIFO reserve increases when either you are selling less and just manufacturing more, and secondly, if your prices are going up, right, and you're selling the expensive ones first and keeping the cheaper ones, the older costs, in the inventory, then naturally your inventory will be at a lower cost and your LIFO reserve will go out. But if you want to liquidate your LIFO reserve, then you can start liquidating your inventory and your LIFO reserve will go down. Another important point, by the way, over here, that LIFO reserve can go down when prices start declining. What does that mean? So if you're, let's say, doing LIFO and you have your $1 in your inventory, you have your $2 in your inventory, and then let's say prices go down to 0.5 and 0.5. So when you're doing LIFO, you will be selling the last in first out, which means you will be actually selling the cheaper ones first and keeping the expensive ones on the books, because now the newer ones are even lower than the original lowest ones, right? So the prices are now declining, therefore that can also impact your LIFO reserve, because in the case of FIFO will be selling the older ones first, right? FIFO will be selling these ones, the 2 ones at that point when you will be selling 0.5. So it's going to come back to the same. So LIFO reserve can go down if, number one, your prices start going down, right, and you're doing LIFO, or it can also go down if you are selling your inventory and not producing more. So you will be selling the old ones and liquidating that reserve. So when the number of units sold is more than the ones being purchased or manufactured, that is called LIFO liquidation, and this is something that can be used by management to manipulate earnings, and therefore IFRS obviously doesn't like LIFO. It doesn't allow LIFO, right? So gross profits will be higher because the cheaper inventory is being sold, whereas the sales is at the current market prices. So what should you as an analyst do is that if you see that there is an increase in gross profit, just check, is it because the LIFO reserve is being liquidated, or is it because the sales prices have been increased, right? All right, so let's take a break here and then we'll come back and take it up with presentation and disclosure in cases of both IFRS and US GAAP, that how does a company, what is the requirement from a company to present their inventory details and what disclosures are required under both IFRS and US GAAP.